Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday morning, October 19th. A very impressive cold air outbreak for this time of the year has reached all the way down into the southern states. Many sites, all the way from the upper part of the Midwest down across the Tennessee Valley into the deep south, are at near record or record lows this morning. Again, quite unusual to see this kind of cold air outbreak penetrate all the way down basically into the Gulf of Mexico region. This is a map from coolweather.com. If you click on record breakers at that particular site, coolwx.com, which is a great site, you can pull up this map on an hourly basis, and this is the 7 a.m. Eastern time map that shows many sites. These blue circles with white circles surrounding them are breaking daily low temperature records here. And this particular site here, Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, is actually breaking the monthly low right now at about 19.6 degrees. And again, this is a monthly low for October right here in the central part of Missouri. You can see all the way down to Florida, Alabama, Florida. Tuscaloosa, for example, is likely on the verge of breaking the daily record low down to 34 degrees, and all the way down into Florida. Here's the Tyndall Air Force Base in the Panhandle region, all the way down to 44 degrees as of 7 a.m. Could still drop a degree or two lower during the next hour or so. So again, a very impressive cold air outbreak that has penetrated all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico region. Well, let's take a look at last night's 0Z run of the GFS. This is the operational version, and this is the 850 millibar temperature anomaly forecast map from the 0Z run for this morning, early Wednesday morning. And just take a look at this widespread colder than normal conditions at the 850 millibar level. Again, reaching all the way from the upper part of the Midwest down into the Gulf region. We saw places in Alabama and Florida, for example, could break daily record low temperatures this morning. Tennessee Valley all the way up to the upper part of the Midwest, mid-Atlantic, northeastern part of the nation experiencing colder than normal conditions. Let's move forward here. We have another day of chilly conditions, another night of chilly conditions. There very well could be some more near record or record lows tomorrow morning, Thursday morning. This is the Thursday afternoon, early afternoon forecast map of 850 millibar temperature anomalies. And by the way, while the eastern U.S. is below normal, much of the western U.S. is well above normal. And this cold air mass in the east will modify certainly by the time we get to Friday and then into the upcoming weekend. A lot of that milder than normal air out in the west will scoot across from west to east across the Great Lakes and into the northeastern part of the nation. This happens to be Saturday afternoon forecast map. Looks like a pretty nice weekend, a mild weekend in much of the same part of the country that is below normal this morning. This is the Saturday forecast map, and we'll go into the day on Sunday evening. Very warm out across the middle part of the nation, and now it flips in the west, turning colder than normal during the upcoming weekend. Well, take a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly forecast map for this morning, again from the 0Z run. Just a very deep upper level low stationed over the eastern part of the Great Lakes. And again, associated with this is a very chilly air mass for this time of the year, all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico region. We'll move forward here, and it kind of spins around over the next 24 hours or so. Still certainly some 1 to 2 days left of this chilly air mass in the eastern part of the nation. Frost this morning, many of the suburbs along the I-95 corridor region, and low temperatures anywhere from the low to middle 30s in many of those suburban locations north and west of D.C., north and west of Philly, north and west of New York City, for example. Same thing should happen late tonight, early tomorrow morning. Frost, freeze, possibilities in those suburban locations north and west of the big cities in the I-95 corridor region. This is the forecast map for tomorrow morning, Thursday morning, and it finally starts to dissipate by the time we get to the end of the work week here. Friday, it starts to fall apart here. But notice that a little bit left over here down along the southeastern coastline. We'll talk about that over the next minute or two here. This is something we'll have to watch during the weekend and into the early part of next week. And we see this ridge starting to build here into the northeastern part of the nation. This is a Saturday afternoon forecast map, and that just intensifies by the time we get to the latter part of the upcoming weekend. Here's a piece remaining of the upper level low situated over the Bahamas, just off the southeastern U.S. coastline. We often say this time of the year that anytime high pressure builds into southeastern Canada or the northeastern part of the U.S., watch out for the potential of tropical or even subtropical type systems kind of undercutting that ridge and having an impact somewhere along the eastern seaboard. This does not look like this will become a very strong system, but it is certainly something to monitor whenever we see this kind of strong high pressure building throughout the atmosphere over the southeastern part of Canada, New England. So again, we'll watch out along the eastern seaboard over the weekend and into the early part of next week with that high building the way it looks like it will late in the weekend into the early part of next week. Well, how does all this reflect at the surface level? This is a surface forecast map for this morning from the 0Z run. Blue represents snow, and again, we talked about this on Monday. Great Lakes are still relatively warm, so this cold air moving over those still relatively warm waters of the Great Lakes causes some low-level instability in the atmosphere, and the result, some lake effect snow shower activity, mostly western Pennsylvania, West Virginia, western New York, and certainly over the Great Lakes themselves. We'll have some more lake effect type snowfall. Again, cold air penetrates all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico this morning. Let's move ahead. It kind of sits and spins along with that 500 millibar low over the next 24 hours or so, and finally by Friday, this is the Friday morning forecast map, we'll start to see the dissipation of that chilly air mass and the dissipation of that very strong upper level low along the eastern seaboard. Conditions will improve on Friday, certainly turning milder on Friday, and it looks like the upcoming weekend will be quite mild as well. This is the setup for a Saturday morning. High pressure shifts to a position off the east coast. On the backside, we have the familiar clockwise flow around highs, and that will produce a southwesterly flow of air from the Gulf of Mexico into the Ohio Valley, and some of that milder air will translate into the mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S. on Saturday and Sunday. High temperatures, for example, probably not far from the 70-degree mark Saturday and Sunday in that D.C. to Philadelphia to New York City corridor. A pretty nice weekend indeed. But this is an area of moisture that we'll have to watch, again, with high pressure building into southeastern Canada over the upcoming weekend, early part of next week. Watch out for some kind of a tropical or subtropical type of low forming over the Bahamas, and it's something we'll have to monitor. Let's move forward and see what last night's run of the GFS model did with this. And here we go. It actually develops a pretty decent low pressure area just off the Carolina coastline by the time we get to Sunday morning. Again, very strong high pressure will be situated up in this region, northeastern U.S., southeastern Canada. Here's the surface high reflected here off the coast of Maine. So this is something we'll certainly a little too early to tell for certain how much of an impact it may or may not have on the eastern seaboard. This is the Sunday morning forecast map, and indeed it pulls some of that moisture right into the mid-Atlantic region by the time we get to the end of the upcoming weekend. So very chilly air this morning all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. Many locations setting daily record temperature lows this morning. Even one location we saw had a monthly low in Missouri for October. Stays chilly in the eastern U.S. for the next 24 to 48 hours or so. Gets milder this weekend, and then we'll have to watch low pressure just off the east coast this week and see if it can have an impact somewhere in the eastern U.S. late in the weekend, early part of next week. A red flag setting up for that as a possibility, with very strong high pressure building across New England, southeastern Canada over the upcoming weekend. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.